Hello and welcome to my website, Born in Hell. This is a video series that I'm doing, really looking at the abuse that I suffered at the hands of my parents and one of my siblings. Just looking at the dysfunction and the abusive environment that I grew up in and the subsequent damage to my life and to my body, to everything about me. So this is, it's a very graphic information, very explicit. You have to listen at your own discretion. I'm talking about abuse and all types of abuse, as well as domestic violence, and so it's very sensitive material. And I would ask that you would just watch at your own discretion if you think the topics of abuse or violence or cursing, language, foul language, this type of thing, anything like that might bother you. Please don't watch my videos or listen to my audios because I'm just telling the truth and I'm telling it like it is and like it was. And so I don't want to sugarcoat abuse, so many people do. And, I get why they're doing that because they want to present a more pleasant experience for the listener. The issue is child abuse is not pleasant. What happened to me as a child was not pleasant. What happened to children, what's happening right now to children around the world, ending up dead in the morgue or just in a grave somewhere where nobody knows where they're at. You know, it's, uh, it's horrific. It's unacceptable. It's, uh, it's, if we don't keep speaking about this and we don't keep keeping it real and true to what it is really, which is complete destruction of a human body and a human mind and a human soul and spirit, these little children, and abuse of any kind against anyone, then it just gets shoved under the carpet and everybody just thinks, oh, let's just keep it pleasant. Well, child abuse is not pleasant, and neither is abusive environments, and neither is domestic violence and abuse and violence against anyone, right? Or an animal. It's just not okay. And so I don't sugarcoat it. It's a huge injustice to victims and survivors of abuse. So I tell it like it is, and you have to listen at your own discretion. Abuse survivors, please be far enough along in your healing journey before you listen to my stuff. If you don't think you're far enough along in your healing journey to listen to another survivor stuff, don't watch my videos and do not listen to my audios. Just turn it off. You won't be hurting my feelings at all. And minors, 18 and under, have adult parental consent. Someone who's an adult who can listen to the videos, audios, watch them, listen to them first, and help you make a decision whether it's age appropriate for you or not. Because I have no idea how young the people are that will be listening to my work, and I'm all about child abuse prevention. That's my number one goal. And so we'll get right into this. We left off, the last video, if you want to go back and watch. I'm 28 years old now. Just went to my brother's funeral. He died of an overdose. He was in a shelter in Calgary, in Canada. And in April, on his birthday, he died of an overdose in a shelter. He couldn't come home for Christmas for the Christmas before, 4 months before, because my mom wouldn't cough up the other half of the ticket. I had enough money to pay for about half of his plane ticket. I knew how much it would cost, roughly. And, I didn't have the rest of it, so I could only pay for a portion of it. My mom said, no, he's going to cause problems for me. I don't want him here. I can't control him. He's not coming home. These are her exact words, And I'm mad, I'm mad because my brother's dead. And he knew, in his heart, his mother didn't even care about him, didn't want him home. Who cares about him? He's in a shelter. He's been a drug user all his life. His life has been in shambles. He's been overdosing on drugs for so long, and just not doing well. And so he's dead. He's gone. There's another brother gone, right? So we go home, we come back from the funeral. We've only been in Canada 3 days for the funeral. We come home. We all got to go back to work, man. We're blue collar working stiffs, man. We need the money to pay the rent, And so, and my mom's health is bad. I mean, it's bad at this point. I'm 28. My mom is 38 years older than me. So she's now 66 years old. My dad is 4 years older than her. He's 70. My dad's health is good, physically. It's his mental health, his psychological health that's always been a problem. My mom's health has always been bad, physical health, as well as her mental stability and psychological, problems. I mean, she was not well, ever. So I never knew her to be well, right? Since I was born. She had me at 38. I was a rape child. brought me into their world, and just like all the other siblings before, said, welcome to our hell. Welcome to our hell. So we continue on. My mom's fallen. She got up in the middle of the night. This was the first night back. The first night back from the funeral. I knew her health was an issue. The flight really took a toll on her. This whole thing of losing her son, which she takes no responsibility for, by the way, ever. She takes no responsibility for anything. And she gets up in the middle of the night to get a drink of water or something. I'm still living at home with my abusive parents. And falls, has a stroke, falls, breaks her hip. Lays there all night on the kitchen floor because my room's quite a ways away from the kitchen. It's on the opposite side of the little house. It's a small house, but with the door closed, I couldn't hear anything. And in the morning, my dad, I guess, gets up in the morning first and finds her there, and she's got to go in the hospital. She's had a stroke and fallen and broken her hip. She's like 66 years old. She's got so many health problems. It's not funny. She's on oxygen. She's had a life of abuse. She's had a life of not taking care of herself. She's never taken care of herself, not since I was born, right? So, she's sick, She goes to the hospital. They have to do surgery. They do a hip replacement. And they put the pins, they do the screws and all that stuff. They say, well, with your health and your age, it's going to be iffy if you make it. And, my mom was always in the hospital, iffy if she's going to make it. So I wasn't surprised by this. She gets to come home. And she's miserable. Miserable. My mother, if you want to go back and listen to my previous videos here, watch my videos. I mean, she was bitter woman. And she hated her life. Absolutely hated her life. Now, we've known this, but, there was a little window of time between, maybe the ages where I turned 22 to like 27, where things, maybe 5 years, where, our relationship got, we actually started getting along. I would take her and do things. And she looked like she was starting to enjoy her life a little bit, and which made me happy, because when mom's happy, everybody's happy. But not only for that reason, because I cared about my mom, and I loved my mom. Right? You can go back and watch my videos and see what's going on here. So she comes home. She's miserable. She's miserable. She's starting fights with anybody and everybody about everything because she's in pain. So when she's in pain, well, everybody else has got to be in pain. So she's getting her digs in everywhere she can. She's unhappy. She's cursing my dad. She thinks we're all a bunch of worthless pieces of shit. Again, we're back to this now. That never changed. We're just losers. We never did anything to help her, And she's had this rotten life, and now her other son is dead from a drug overdose, and we've all just been such worthless loser piece of shit children. Caused her nothing but trouble. And her fucking husband that she hates, she'd be throwing stuff at my dad, This continued on. In the meantime, she's been told by the doctors after this hip replacement surgery that she has to do exercises. She needs to get up. She needs to be doing these exercises every day. They suggested she goes into rehab, like to stay, like where you go and you stay for 6 months or something. Because they're like, if you don't get up and exercise after this surgery, you're going to be pretty well bedridden. You're going to be in a wheelchair, and you need to exercise it and learn how to walk on it. So she has a walker, right? She finds it very difficult to get around. But it's more of a mental attitude with her. It always has been. She's very depressed. My mom was manic depressive. She was diagnosed manic depressive when they both got busted on child abuse charges. There you go. Nothing changed. She's not on pills. She's not getting any therapy. Nothing's ever been done. Nobody gets help in our house. Oh no. So this all just continues on. She's depressed. She's not happy. She's starting fights. She's kind of acting like her old self. A little bit. She can't beat me up anymore. She's too old and she's sick and she just had hip replacement surgery. And she can't really beat anybody up. She can't really do much to my dad. My dad's not attempting to bother her or attack her at this point. He's left her alone, And so within a couple months, we noticed that her attitude is really going downhill. She wants to fight with my dad all the time. He'll be in the kitchen. He's in the kitchen. He's just running water in the sink. He's just running water, doing dishes, trying to help her out because she can't stand up to do dishes long enough. So we're doing everything for her, right? Which is really what we should be doing, right? She can't do anything. And we're not even begrudging it. I'm not walking around going, why do I have to do all this? Why isn't Kathy over here helping? And I shouldn't have to do all this. I'm just doing it because I live in the house, right? I'm living with my abuser parents, my old abuser parents. And I figure, I got to take some responsibility. So I'm helping. I'm doing all the laundry. I've been doing laundry now for a couple of years, off and on for a couple of years here while I've been living in there. I'm still at home, right? I try to help her as much as I can. And even with her insults and her digs, I let it ride. I don't say anything. I just take it. See, I just take it. That's what I was always doing, right? She beat the shit out of me as a kid. And I just lay on the ground and I take it. I ward off the blows. Nothing's changed. It's just not physical violence. It's emotional, verbal, psychological violence toward me. You know what I mean? Nothing's changed, right? I'm not getting beat anymore, but it's the same old attitude. So I'm too old. I'm 28 years old, right? So, one night, this is probably within the first 4 or 5 months after her surgery, she's not doing well, mentally, psychologically. She is so pissed off. She's pissed about her life, She starts fighting with my dad. He's running water in the sink. He keeps turning the tap on and off, and she's irate because she hates my dad. She doesn't want him in the kitchen with her. I'm trying to help her out to do some dishes. She's like, stop turning the taps on and off. Well, that starts a big fight, a big argument between them. My mom's stroke level. She just had a stroke. She's just had a major surgery, hip replacement. She is 66 years old on oxygen and she's sick. Her health has been, she's in bad shape. My dad's like, I'm just trying to help. You should just be happy I'm trying to do anything for you, So here they go. They start their fight again. And my mom starts then getting really pissed off and throwing stuff at him, cursing at him. You're a good man. You're a right, going on and on. And so I'm sitting in the living room. It's nighttime. It's probably like, I don't know, 9 o'clock at night, maybe 8 o'clock at night. And I'm just like, here we go again. It just popped in my head. I'm like, how many years have I been watching them do this to each other, destroy their family, ruin their children's lives, really, as children, and young teens until they moved out. Then it's our responsibility, right? But totally trashed our lives because of their crap bullshit. So I'm mad. I just lost my brother. I'm pissed off. I've never dealt with any of my problems. I have a lot of anger issues. It's under the surface, but it's there. And I'm like, I've had enough. So I get up and I'm like, listen to yourselves. Would you just listen to yourselves? I'm screaming at them. They're in the kitchen fighting. Right? I'm like, look what you have done to your children. Screaming at them. They're like, the hell is that little piece of shit talking about? You know what I mean? I fucking slap her down. If they were younger and I was younger, I'd have got beat for sure. Yeah, they're too sick and old and I'm too big. And I'm like, I said, look at what you have done to your children. I said, and I started naming this off. I'm like, Irene, Kevin, Rob, Chess, Howard, Kathy, and me. Look at what you have done to your children. And I get mad. And I feel this anger coming up that I really never ever, well, except for when I slammed the door when my mom started beating me up. My friend told her, there's laws against child abuse, And I pushed past my mom and I'm slamming that door. I'm like, slam. Like, you want to beat me? You want to beat me? I know you do, right? That's the kind of anger. I was pissed off, man. I'm like, I've freaking had it. I've had enough of their shit. I could have gone out for the night. You know what I mean? I could have gone out I didn't have any friends at this point because all my friends were my druggy friends, and I had to leave them behind. So I'm still on my own, very much on my own. I don't have a life. I live with my abuser parents, right? So I'm mad, and I start throwing things. And I don't want to hurt anybody because I'm not like my parents. So I don't hit them with anything. What I do is I start busting my stuff. And I start throwing shit. I had a lot of stuff by this time. Most of the stuff in the living room was mine that I had bought that was all really nice stuff. And, a desk. I mean, because I'd gone to school. I'd gone to cooking school. I mean, I had a desk and I had all these, lamps and different things that I had purchased. I started busting my stuff. My dad starts coming to the living room. I'm like, because I'm just throwing shit. I'm destroying the place. I'm pissed off, And my mom's in the kitchen going, crying the blues, We weren't allowed to cry. No. You can go back and watch a few videos if you want to about the no crying thing. And, she's in there bawling. My dad comes out. He's not going to try to stop me. I'm 28 years old. He's old. He's 70. He's not hitting me no more. I'm not taking that shit from him anymore. And he knows it, but he's coming to try to see what the hell is my problem. I need to calm down. You know what I mean? I'm like, Dad, get out of the room. Get away, because I don't want to hurt you. And I just trash the living room. I just trash it. I bust a lot of my stuff, which is sad because some of it was really nice. But it was my stuff. I did it to myself. Okay, whatever. But this pisses my mom off. She's crying. Ooh, now she's probably thinking, that little fucking cunt. She loved to call me that too. I don't say it very often on here, but she's probably thinking, fucking whore. You know what I mean? She's such a goddamn piece of shit rape child I ever wanted in the first place. Now she's being so mean to me. So she goes to her room and lays down and starts sobbing. I go to my room. I slam the door. Because I got to calm down. It's busted half of my shit. I'm like, okay, that's enough. Just busted my stuff to make a point. So about an hour later, I give her time to cool off. And I hear she's still crying. I hear her still sobbing, but she's crying. And so, I go into her room, and I detail this all in A Life of Death Redemption, and I'm actually going to read from it. Because this was her exact words, and this was my exact words. And, it's just, I'm thinking, I got to try to console her, because, it's obviously I scared her doing that. Obviously, she knew I would never hurt her, because she was the one that was beating my ass, you know what I mean? I never, ever even raised a hand to her, because she'd kill me, You can go back and watch the videos and find out what she did to me and what she would do to me. And I go into her room, and I sit on the edge of her bed, and I start talking to her. And she's just like so depressed. She's like, I should have just killed myself. Now, this was common to hear her say. My mom used to say that at the kitchen table. That's why I said my mother had suicidal ideation as well. I didn't talk about it too much on this video series so far, but she would quite often say that. I should have just killed myself years ago, she would say. So she's like, I should have just killed myself. I hate this life. She's laying down slowly, on her side, not facing the wall. She's not facing me. I hate this life. She's crying. Right? And I feel bad for her. I really do, because I am a person with compassion. She didn't, she tried to beat that out of me. And when I was a teen, I thought she had beaten that out of me. Every ounce of compassion that was in me, I thought it was gone, but it wasn't. And I said, Mom, there has to be something, like something in this life, that makes it worthwhile, I said, I'm trying to say it's not that bad, I'm like, what about your children? Like, we should count for something, shouldn't we? Because I want her to fess up whether she really, truly loved us or not. I want the truth, so I dig a little bit. But I do it in a way that kind of makes her have to say something, see? So I'm like, she wants to kill herself. She hates her life. As her daughter's sitting there telling her, I'm trying to console her. She hates her life, right? That means she hates me, right? She hates her whole life, right? She wants to kill herself. I said, what about your children? I mean, we should count for something, shouldn't we? You know? And she says, I never wanted any of you. And I was just sitting there, I'm like, I had heard that my whole fucking life, but it was mainly about me. She would say, I never wanted you. You're a rape child. You're a goddamn rape child, you know, because she wanted to make it very plain and clear she was having nothing to do with me emotionally. She was detached. See, that's why she could beat me and had no problems with it. That's why she could bust my head open, spill my blood, allow my brother to rape me, because she was not emotionally attached to me. She didn't care about me. She didn't want me, right? I knew that. People have asked me in the past if, well, don't you think your mom was telling the truth when she said all that stuff? And I'm like, absolutely, it was the truth, right? So she says, I never wanted any of you. I didn't want to have children. I didn't want a bunch of children. I wanted to be an artist, she says, as she's laying on the bed. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, we kind of knew that. You know what I mean? This isn't like any new news to us. All of us children knew that she didn't give a shit about us. That's why our parents beat us and, treated us like shit and like garbage or as they had a control on us. And, they didn't want us. My dad was just raping my mother and she's popping out these kids, And I'm like, well, all of your children loved you very much. Because I'm trying to make a point. So I want to see where she's going to go with this. And, she's like, you were all worthless. Not one of you was worth a shit to me, she says. And then she literally rolls over and looks at me and says that. And, she didn't have, that's how she looks. She's just like, she doesn't care. She's sitting there hurting my feelings, right? And I'm just sitting there thinking, this is fucking ridiculous. I'm like, you mean to tell me, we had to count. We had to count. I said, well, we had to count, Mom. I said, you cannot tell me that we did not count at all. I said, or we didn't matter at all to you. And I'm starting to get mad. And and that you and Dad put us through all of this shit for nothing. For nothing. Tell me that we counted. Right? Because I'm making a point here. I'm yelling by now. And she rolls over and she looks at me and she says, you didn't count. None of you counted. And she rolled back over. And I'm like, fuck that. I was so pissed off because my parents were brought up on child abuse charges. And when I was 2 years old, right around 2 years old, if you go back and watch that first couple of videos, they could have let us go. She could have let us go. But she wanted to look like the good mother and make my dad look bad. She was also abusing all the kids. That's why the older siblings said they thought it was just my dad abusing the kids because my mom was like, their father's beating on them. Beating on me too. And all the older siblings stepped up and said, our mom's beating on us too. So they were both brought up on charges and they were both busted on child abuse charges. And I thought, how could you do that? You cannot tell me that we did not count, that at the time when that intervention was done, you could have let us all go. If you didn't want us and you didn't care about us and we meant nothing to you and we were nothing but worthless pieces of shit that ruined your life, you could have let us go. And I actually leave the house because I'm so pissed off I can't even breathe at this point. Because I'm sitting there, I got the truth, man. That wasn't just a dig. That wasn't one of her digs. That was the truth. So I get in my car and I'm going to a hotel. That's the only place I can go because I don't know. Nobody I know is going to let me come crash at their house. So I'm like, I turn on Pearl Jam, rearview mirror, and I drive off as fast as I can down the road, as fast as my car would go. Speakers blaring, and I'm like, fuck you. I'm 28, going on 29 years old here. a life of fucking abuse from this woman who I loved. I loved her so much. People have no idea how much I love my mother. That's why I talk about it all the time. And that's what I got from her, was the truth. That we didn't count. We didn't matter. None of us mattered to her. She didn't want children. She kept us around because she didn't want to look like a bad mother. It was all about my mother. And she did not want anyone to think that she was just this rotten woman for popping out these children and not keeping them and just popping them out and letting them all go. So she's like, well, just got to look like my husband's the bad one and I'm the good one because I kept my children. I wanted my children. She didn't want any of us. And so I go to a hotel, right? To make a long story short. And I actually call and my sister to tell her what's going down. And I'm at the hotel. Well, just a few short hours later, I'm just kind of winding down trying to get some sleep. Trying to calm down and breathe because I couldn't breathe, man. I was so pissed off. It's not even funny. And my dad had phoned my sister. She knew where I was, so she gave him the number to the hotel. He calls me and says, well, Laurie, your mother has fallen and she hit her head. She cracked her head open. We're going to the hospital. We're going to take her over to Presbyterian. We'll meet you there. And you really should come. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Like, she's going to make this just so incredibly bad, So I get over to the hospital. I get dressed. I go to the hospital. It's early wee hours in the morning now. And my mom sees me. And she's sitting in a wheelchair and she's got like a towel on her head. I'm 28. She's 66 years old. And crazy and mentally ill. And she tells me, I'm going to tell them you did it. And I'm like, go ahead. I said, I'm going to tell them about all the shit you did to me. She's like, they won't believe you. My dad's like a witness. He saw this he knows this whole thing. He actually will admit it. And she says, they won't believe you. They'll believe me because I'm an old lady. And I said, whatever. I wasn't even in the house. Like, my dad says, that's right. And the doctors come up and my dad says, I was there. I saw it. Laurie wasn't even in the house. She was already gone to the hotel. I actually witnessed Barb throw herself into her dresser and hurt herself. My mom did that on purpose. See? Now you want to know why I'm so fucked up? Shoving me into an oven saying, look what you made. First she says, look what you're making me do. And she starts putting my arms in there and I'm trying to back off, pushing away, burning my fucking hands and my knees. And she's like, you're doing this to yourself, Now you want to know why I'm so fucked up. That's your answer right there. Absolutely horrific. And I'm like, again, to my mother, fuck you. I'm starting to love her less and less at this point because I'm like, you're a fucking bitch. After all this shit, and I write poems for you and you won't accept them. I read poems in Spanish for you, beautiful poems. I kept them. I actually have them. I have a few of them in my books, and I have photocopies of them actually put on. I did a scan, put them on the computer. I actually have them. I'll try to include one on this at the end of the video. At this point, I'm so angry that I can't believe that I just spent years that I could have been moved out on my own, trying to get my own life together. Adult years that I wasted to help this woman who really, truly hated my fucking guts. As I was growing up, I hate your fucking guts, she'd tell me. Slap. up, fuck you, pounding on me. And, and I just spent my adult years, the prime of my life, trying to help her. You know why? Because I write poems for my mom. Because 2 weeks prior, she spilled my blood, beat the shit out of me. But I want her to love me. I love her so much, So I write her poems. I'm in 7th grade, 8th grade. So it was the same thing. I was doing the same thing. I was like, if I just, stay and help her out and, and give up my adult life, maybe she'll love me. And I got the truth. I knew it. See, I already knew it. But at this point, I'm old enough and cognitive enough to realize that she was using me. She used everybody. Really. Sick and twisted, man. Sick and twisted. I was a punching bag for the first 16 years, right on into 17. I was just her personal punching bag. And after that, I was her ride and her protection from my dad. And then after that, I was somebody who would help her to do things around the house. I was just this thing, right? Didn't mean anything to her. But the sad thing is that none of us meant anything to her. None of my siblings. She didn't want any of us, she said. Not one of us. We were worthless. We didn't count. We didn't matter. She didn't want children. So that's the sad thing, is that all my siblings suffered in this. At the hands of a woman who used us all for whatever purposes she could get. And then let the bomb drop. I never wanted any of you. You meant nothing to me. So at this point, I decide that I've got to move out. I got to get away from her. I got to make a final cut. When I went to the Grand Canyon, I knew I was coming back. All my stuff was at the house. But now I'm like, I've got to go. And I got to go far, far away. I have dual citizenship. And I get my papers, I get it all documented, and I move. I decide that I've got to move to Canada. Yeah. I got to move 2,000 miles north. I got to get away from them and get my own life going. And fuck that, right? So that's where we'll leave off with this one. And we'll pick up with just a little bit of left of 29 into 30, 31. And we'll just continue on. As I say on all my shows, if you're struggling and you're having a hard time and you just can't cope and you can't get through, you make a phone call to a crisis line. I want to be a crisis line volunteer. But because my husband is terminally ill, he's been terminally ill for 15 years, he's dying. He's very sick. Even tonight, he's not well. They won't let me because it's too stressful. I've got that going on, so I can't deal with helping people because there's too much pressure. And so they don't suggest it. So I can't even do that right now. But I would be on the crisis lines helping people out if I could. To be that person there that, you call if you can't cope, because there's people like me sitting on those crisis lines. And they care. And they can help you. Right? God bless you all till the next time. Thanks very much for your interest in my work. Thanks for doing all you can to protect children. Thanks for getting involved in child abuse prevention. Support the different groups out there. Get involved. Protect your own children. Protect the children around you. And God bless you all. Talk to you soon.